And so you probably just got the message. This meeting is being live streamed. And if you would just hold for a second, I'm going to throw that onto our Facebook for the folks that follow there. Where's my share button? There it is. Oh, and also, I want to take this opportunity as I'm staring blankly and waiting for Facebook. I want to apologize for today's email where I forgot to blind copy the names rather than sending them outright in the open. It won't happen again. But after 2 years, I figure I was due one flub. So there's my flub. Pages, Bancroft PTO. And
Hey, Dad.
yeah, buddy boy.
What's this?
Oh, that's in your new scout pin. Give me a second. Here it is. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I'm just gonna have to do this full screen because I can't do this with a tiny screen.
It's all good.
Okay, there we go. Now that screen's gone. Okay. All right, folks, welcome. Thank you for making it out to tonight's meeting. And let's just do a quick round of introductions if folks wouldn't mind. I'm V. Paul. I'm PTO president this year, and I've got my son Silas in second grade. And I'm going to go with Robin, who's directly below me in the grid.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robin Anderson. I have a third grader, Ellery, and a first grader, Adam. I'll look to Alicia next. Hopefully I said your name correctly.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Alicia Waka-Butler. I'm a mom of third grader Grace and high fiver Hazel. Oh, Mr. DePaz, that's who I see right here, so I'll go with you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diego DePaz, and I'm the principal here at Bancroft. And so I will pass it along to Ms. Nichols.
Good evening. I'm Brianna Nichols. I am the assistant principal at Bancroft. And how about to Peter?
Oh, well, I'm one of the Peters. I'll go, I guess. I'm Peter Thompson. I have third grade twins at Bancroft. And I'll pass it to the other Peter and Val.
I'm Peter Caldwell.
And I'm Valerie Lessler. We have a third grader, Ren, and a kindergartner, Everett.
And let's throw it to Gina, who's out on a lake somewhere, it looks like.
I'm Gina Brousseau. I am special guest, I guess, from Northrop. So.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for making it out. I'm going to throw it to Tana.
Hi, I'm Tana. I have a second grader and a little guy that's maybe a kindergartner, hopefully next year.
And then Lisa, Miss Lisa Hartman.
Hey everyone, Lisa Hartman. I am math specialist and also the DS for Bancroft. Welcome everybody.
And then I'll throw to Melissa Hanson.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hanson. I have a first grader.
Then Miss Sue.
Hey everyone, I'm Sue Francis. I'm the IB coordinator.
Great. I think that's everyone. I'm just checking the list for folks that have cameras off just in case. Okay, thank you very much for that. So as you can see, I'm got the agenda up here. And we've got a packed meeting, so I am going to try to stick to these time minutes. So I'm going to stop talking now and go with the next slide, which is our board reports. And Robin, do you have anything you'd like to report at this meeting?
There are not any current requests from teachers. So Sue, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anything, and certainly watching those and see what comes next. I'll keep you all posted.
Yep, no requests that we know of either.
Quick report.
Great. And then just as a follow-up after last meeting, Diego and Brianna, I set up a notification. It's a coded notification. I mean, it's programmed in, so it's not a built-in notification, but you'll get an email when that report gets pinged so that it's transparent to you what's coming through. And Ms. Sue, I could actually add that to you too, or should it go to you rather than Brianna and Diego?
You can add me, but keep them as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Nicole.
Yep. No. And then Justin might be running late or is running late clearly. So he did have a report, not much activity. Well, no, I take it back. Actually, a lot of activity in terms of large numbers. We are looking for some clarity, but I did want to point out we had approved the staff appreciation lunch for MEA. And so that bill came in at $497.86, and that was fine and great. I just want to be transparent with that. This item that's called library book purchases, I'm actually not certain what this purchase was, but this was a check that Justin cut to Moon Palace. And I think from a board perspective, and I'm probably going to need to look to Nicole for some clarity, or if someone from staff might know, was there a library purchase that we recently covered this month, or is this a mislabeled expense? Okay, seeing no comments, and I'm just looking.
It looks like Lisa may have an idea, and my comment was just going to be, I am unaware of a library books purchase, but that does not mean that there wasn't one. But
Got
Lisa,
it.
you
Yep.
had your hand up, I saw there.
And the only thing I would say, I wonder if it had to do with the book sales, or with the, that was my only comment, is I wondered if it had to do with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That
During conferences.
That I do wonder about that. The reason why I'm not 100% certain is because our intake from online was 1,300 and change, and we only keep 20% of that. Now, because this year we did this via Square, and we didn't use the vendor's own point of sale, we're kind of on the hook for the total and then have to pay back the amount. So I know that of the 1,300, we're only keeping 20% of that. So I am personally not sure what the 1,500 total is. And so I'll get some clarity, but I did want to put that out there because the check was cut. So this is really just a transparency point at this point, but we'll find some clarity and we'll report back in December's meeting. Thank you for the insight. I don't think Nicole is here yet. She is the Read-A-Thon chair and book sale. And you can see these are numbers that I have only because I'm able to see our Give Minnesota account, but we had set a goal online of $6,000. And you could see that from online campaign, we exceeded that compared to last year, where I think we came in at 2,300, which of course last year being a pandemic year and we engaged much differently. I still would like to kind of chalk this up as a great success. So thank you everyone who contributed. Thank you very much to Nicole for spearheading this, and all the parents who volunteered their time at the book sale, for the parents who got their kids reading. I imagine Diego and Brianna and Sue and Lisa, you probably have anecdotes from this too, of just kids in school talking about Read-A-Thon. I'm not sure if you have anything you want to share, but I would like to say this was a pretty good success.
My only anecdote, thank you PTO, and thank you Nicole and everybody, Moon Palace Books too, for sponsoring that piece. My only anecdote is that the kids were really excited about it, and they all want to know who read the most minutes, because every single kid, all 393, think they read the most minutes. And so that's a really positive thing in my opinion, because my announcements always end with read, read, read. And so hopefully that is something that has carried over, and they had that enthusiasm and excitement to read. So
maybe we should just find a way to leave that be the belief that they all read the most minutes. It reminds me of the time I was in a previous life, I was a photographer that had to sell photos to make money. And you would have a bowl and you would drop a card in a bowl to win like a thing, right? And people would be like, oh my gosh, I think I just won this thing. Well, it turns out, no, everyone won one. You gave us your card. So, so that's what got turned around into, what was it called? A sales lead. Anyway, everyone's a winner. I think that's really the point of that story. Okay. Yep. No, thank you. So we will connect with Nicole and maybe send out an email update to the actual numbers, particularly to the minutes read part, because that's the part that's not transparent to me. And also what our final book sale was. But I know the book sale over the conferences was in the ballpark of 1,300 something. I'm not sure what came in post conference. Okay, I'm just going to move on. And we do have some guests here today. And Peter, you are also well, Peter Thompson, because you are my contact on this Northrop one. First of all, you're welcome to come to every single meeting. So I'd like to just say, come to them all. But also, I'm queuing this up as last meeting. I brought up the notion of a land acknowledgement process that maybe PTO could initiate or just have a talking to. Here is the slide I have for context. For the last couple of years, we as a group over several different boards have been talking about ways to talk about inclusion, diversity, equity, and accountability among our parents and how do we program for that. And this land acknowledgement process sort of could be one way. Peter reached out after that last meeting to say he has some insight from his time at Northrop, and he has invited some Northrop folks. So I want to give the floor to you to sort of talk through this process of what it was like, and just so that we can hear it and people that watch this later on can also decide, is this a process that we should be undertaking ourselves? And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, I think, so Gina Brousseau is still at Northrop and still part of Northrop's Driving for Equity and Justice, the group that I was a part of there when we did this land acknowledgement project. So I think Gina's going to go ahead and just sort of talk a little bit about NSEJ and what they're up to now. And then I'll talk a little bit about how we got to the land acknowledgement that we did. So take it away, Gina.
Sounds good. Thanks. And thanks for the warm welcome, everyone. I'll just make this brief. I know that you have a pretty packed agenda. So, just speaking from the group that we have, Northrop Striving for Equity and Justice, basically we're a group of parents and staff and community, and, we're promoting social justice. So through different things that we have done to try to create that safe space and, recognize our, just ways of, our privilege and, just identifying ways of how we can be more inclusive, right? So some things that we actually have done in the last year, for example, is we did do this land acknowledgement, and Peter will talk about that in just a moment. And then we did actually put a couple pages, we brainstormed together to put a couple pages in the yearbook to really provide some prompts of talking about, kind of the year as a whole, from like a timeline of when George Floyd got killed and sort of just like acknowledging some dates, but also just some prompts of, getting kids to reflect on different ways that either they can either draw or they could answer a question. So some ways for them to really kind of engage with their yearbook, but also reflective from the year. And we kind of came together as a group to really formulate that sort of, that kind of involvement. Another way in the past, obviously COVID has kind of affected sort of our engagement and involvement with the group, but prior to COVID, we did do like a screening, and we tag teamed with another school to do like a screening of Love Them First, and then have like a discussion. So we're constantly evolving of how we can kind of collaborate with other schools, but also just how we as schools really address something that needs, as a group. To grow and to learn. So I don't know I hope that kind of painted a good picture of how our group and what we've done, a little bit of wanting to do the same this year, and we're still continuing to brainstorm what we want to do. So
Yeah,
Peter,
thanks.
I'll turn it to you to talk about the land acknowledgement.
Yeah, so the land acknowledgement came about in 2019, and at my work, I'm an artist. I work at Springboard for the Arts in St. Paul, and we've been talking a lot about land acknowledgements and how to create one for ourselves. And so I just started thinking about that as something that we could also do at Northrop. And I also, as I mentioned, I'm an artist. I have this project called the A Project that has these red letter A signs, and underneath, it's hard to read here, but it says the household displaying this letter supports artists and the ideas they contribute to our neighborhood. So I screen print these. If you might start to see them around the neighborhood. There's quite a few around, but I was just thinking about that and this idea of trying to communicate this idea of land acknowledgement. You know, one of the things that I've certainly learned and I've heard from lots of folks is just that it's, you know, it needs to be more than just kind of writing something down and posting it on your website, but what is the way that you're sort of making that more concrete? So I guess as an artist and someone that makes things, I started thinking about that and these sort of window signs that I've been screen printing. So when we came up with our land acknowledgement, and sort of the process we used wasn't, you know, it was primarily folks within NSEJ that were talking about and kind of coming up with it and reading various resources that we were sharing to just kind of develop what the language should be. And then also creating a kind of a one-page description of what land acknowledgement is and just sort of more information about you know, the Native nations that share Minnesota's geography that we could pair with the land acknowledgement that we were making. So we also worked with our principal at the time, Kelly Woods. So in our group, we were kind of creating the language around it, and then we were sharing that with her so she could share it with Native families at Northrop to just sort of make sure that, you know, that those folks knew what we were doing and could provide feedback if they wanted. And so from there, then we ended up, so I took this design another parent had made that was of the Northrop, sort of a Northrop logo thing. And then this is the land acknowledgement that's underneath it. So we screen printed these for the first time at our fall dinner in 2019. And so people could come and actually screen print the sign themselves and take it home and put it up in the window of their house. And did it there, and then actually ended up screen printing enough for all the kids at Northrop. So we made I screen printed 500 of them, and then printed out the one pager about land acknowledgements in native land that then went out, you know, we put them in the boxes of all the teachers so they could send them home with kids. So that was sort of what we did that first year. And then in 2020, then when we started talking about what we wanted to do as a group, you know, when everyone was in distance learning, you know, again, we decided, well, we can print another, you know, 500 of these to hand out to kids. And since we had the homework packets going home every week, it was this great way to sort of make sure it was going to every single kid in the school. So we did that with the one pager again. And then Gina and others on NSEJ worked on this book portion. So I'm gonna have Gina talk about that because she was really involved in that aspect of it.
Yes, we read the book Fry Bread, and it was chosen because it was a Native American author, and it was addressing modern day, not just like a history of, not just historic, I guess. And then it was a picture book that would be for all ages. So we had 3 volunteers, including myself, and we read, and then together as a group came up with prompts that were appropriate by 2 grades. So like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then 4th and 5th. And those videos were recorded and then sent to each of the teachers by those 2 grade duos, and then with the appropriate prompts for that age groups. And let's see here. Yeah, it's a great book. I don't know if anybody has read it before, but it's a really fantastic book. Highly recommended. And then, you know, again, a lot of what we're trying to do too is just provide that visibility of creating equity. So I hope that was helpful. And then, so part of also what we're trying to do this year is also think about other ways that we can address other groups as well and do continuous recordings and get volunteers, and just, again, another resource for teachers to be able to provide prompts or just ideas behind that. So.
Yeah, so that's basically what happened. Yeah, I think it's, I think it's, again, I think it's important to think about the ways that a land acknowledgement can be more than sort of just the words that you make, but like what's the process and what kind of happens with it afterwards, and what other concrete things can happen. Also, I think I didn't mention, I also been, I'd reached out and been emailing back and forth with the Department of Indian Education that's at MPS. So that was helpful as well. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that, at least because I like to make things, that I liked about the signs is that, we still have one in our window, and it's it's a way to sort of be reminded of it more than kind of when you make it. So yeah, any questions or?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I think I don't want to hog the floor because I tend to do that all the time. But I do want to say that we are interested very much in process rather than end result, and whether what takes us through a process, I think is important. It's great to hear that. The process that you had over at Northrop was multi-part, and there were multiple ways people had an inroad. So if they weren't in at the beginning of the journey, they found other ways to sort of find their way in and involved. I'm wondering if anyone else, Alicia was on here as well. She had to depart. I do want to mention that we had a conversation, a meeting about this also, and one of the things she was looking at was whether there was actually already verbiage or a land acknowledgement from a school district setting, and whether or not we as a Bancroft PTO, and then there's of course Bancroft, the school itself, what our actual end result might be. But I'm wondering if anyone has any comment, question for Peter and Gina, and or any reaction to what I just shared from the conversation with Alicia.
I'm going to hop off, but I did share in the chat our email, so feel free to reach out. And then I'll also just share our, basically link to our school website. So feel free to reach out if you guys have any other questions. Obviously, Peter's a great resource. You guys are lucky to have him. And thank you guys.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Gina and Peter, obviously for sharing and for letting us in on how you did that with your staff and parents over at Northrop. I appreciate that. And then I have some technical questions that I can ask Peter too when we log off here, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to partner, collaborate anytime. We're all in this together. So.
Awesome.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you.
I should say too, even though this is the first meeting I have been able to make it to, I've watched the other ones on YouTube. So I feel like I've been here, even though you've never met me before on Zoom. So.
So I guess my technical question was, I'm guessing these meetings or this group happened outside of a PTO type meeting or setting. And then how often did you guys meet or collaborate with each other and with school staff or school leaders?
Yeah, so so at Northrop there was a PTA and an NSEJ. And so it's a hard acronym to say, but we would meet, NSEJ met monthly. And so it was just parents, and we met at school, and usually pretty much always the principal was there. Even during distance learning, we had a new principal as well, was attending those meetings, as well as a few teachers were generally there as well. So yeah, that's kind of that was our, so we were meeting about all kinds of things sort of throughout the year. And then, some of the meetings were dedicated to working on, or a portion of them were working on the land acknowledgement or the other kind of activities we were trying to get done.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, I know, Paul, you brought this up maybe our last meeting or the first meeting, and it's something, yeah, I'm definitely obviously in favor of generating one or working together with PTO, maybe having a joint Bancroft like land acknowledgement. I know at the beginning of the year, South High School shared theirs with a number of principals, and Indianet has also shared some language that can be used. I think it'd be really important, you know, like we said, is to bring it to our families. I mean, we have a number of Native families in our school that have been here for a long time too, and so I want to make sure that we are as inclusive as we can be when we're doing this. And I think the part that I think that has been said, but I say all the time here to my staff and to folks is, you know, actions obviously speak louder than words. And so if we're going to say these things or, you know, have a land acknowledgement, then what does that continue to look like, and how do we continue to make it visible and not, you know, the buzzword of performative? And so I don't want it to be that. So how do we make it actually an actionable piece that is visible here at our school?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. So yep, it came up just in October at the October meeting. And so this is just our second touch. And I imagined we would have multiple touches on it. But I think, I mean, first of all, I'd like to say, Diego, that's great to hear it from the school perspective, that it could be something that's partnered with, because I certainly knew I couldn't speak on behalf of the school when in launching this exploration or project. And so maybe given the time that we have here, first of all, I do want to say, if we've got more comments or questions for Peter, let's hear them. But secondly, perhaps what we could move toward is, Diego, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with staff and faculty, and maybe we could get a group going between PTO parents who would like to sort of spearhead or collaborate, and staff, and it could be kind of a single unit moving forward, and we could figure out what the next step might be. I think certainly the thing I'm looking forward to is, again, like I said, is process and something that gets people together and talking. And whether it's, I didn't realize there was a film screening that was sort of part of this process. I did see on Northrop's site the resource list of books, I believe. I mean, yeah, that Northrop site has a lot of resources. And so just the act of generating that, I think, I don't want to copy that necessarily, but I do want to figure out a way that,
yeah, we can copy it.
We can copy it. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I would also like to say that on our end, we'd like to, you know, well, let's do some hoofing, some of our own work to that effect as well. But yes, okay. Now we got it from you. We'll copy it and we'll maybe add to it and let it grow. So I don't think this is necessarily an item that needs a vote, but I would like to just get a sense, maybe a thumbs up or just throw it in the chat. Do we feel like this is the direction we're going to go? And Diego, do you think that you would take that to staff to see if anyone would like to partner with us on PTO?
I'm an absolutely 100%.
Great. And I'm seeing a bunch of head nods. And I see some chat. Great. Oh, hi, Michelle. Welcome. And Rachel, I forgot to say hi to both of you. I saw Rachel earlier too. Great. Okay. So moving on from this topic, let's say it will continue. Let's see what we can do between now and December in terms of just finding some other key folks. Peter, I would love to continue to lean on your expertise, considering you're now a Bancroftonian. I'm not even sure what the noun is for that. But
Bulldog. It's a bulldog.
Bulldog. Okay, fine. A bulldog, since you know a bulldog. All right. Thank you. I'm going to close the topic unless there's any other discussion.
I would just say I can share some stuff that we like, the one pager and stuff that we created. I don't know if I sent that to you already, Paul, but that's something you can certainly share around too, if either now or whenever we.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually get back to sharing my screen for the sake of the recording as well. As you can see, I included that website now on the slide deck, so that should make it to the recording. And if folks just wanted to, I know people in chat obviously can just copy paste from the chat, but for folks online, there's that link. And yeah, Peter, we'll take whatever resources you have. Perhaps we'll make a special place for it on the web page and on Facebook for people to just download from there. We don't have an equity and justice group like Northrop does that has its own site. So okay, great. Thank you for that discussion. The next item, So I had moved this up because I was hoping Alicia would be able to stay on long enough for this. As you know, for the past, well, for a while now, we've been calling them cultural family events or cultural family nights, right? Now this particular thing, parent-led or caregiver-led, I suppose, really should be the term I'm using. Cultural activities for our classrooms, as I've sort of discussed, the notion that folks that have something they'd like to share, something a visual art from their background, a performance, a story, come into a classroom, share it. The students absorb it. Maybe it gets integrated into their IB lesson plan. Maybe it's a standalone. Miss Sue and I sort of talked about how integration might happen and some of the logistics. And then they produce something in the end that gets to be showcased, like literally put on a show, put on the windows or near in the cafeteria for all the school to see as people are coming and going for the week that they do it. And then they take them home, as their own keepsake. But that way it's very fully transparent to everyone in the school community, what just got shared and what just got learned. So from the meeting with Ms. Sue, we sort of came up with a structure. What's the end goal? Was I think you had asked me that question multiple times in our discussion, and so talking with the parents, like what are we hoping to accomplish here, and that's going to give you. I'm putting words in your mouth, but give you a way of whether we can integrate it into something. We are talking about you the interest is that the sessions are geared towards a grade. So if the one example right away is Japanese drumming. I've been talking with a parent about that. So maybe all of grade 5, and there are 2 classes in grade 5. I forget, you have 2. So both classes get the same experience, whether it's all at the same time or whether it's 2 separate sessions, but so across the grade, they're all kind of getting that. So then grade 4 might get a different experience and grade 1 might get a different experience. And I know grade 2 is going to be, and 3 will be kind of funky because it's a 2.5. So that half class will be getting double experiences. I don't know. The math has never been my strong suit. So, being that this is Native American Heritage Month, and Alicia and I sort of talked, she was interested in participating. And one of the things that actually a bunch of things we had an hour-long meeting, and I don't know, that list was an arm's length, but the things that sort of bubbled to the top as something that's doable by, and here's a date, Monday, November 22 is the target date. If we think we can pull this off, because it works in her timetable. She would be reading a book to classes, which we haven't identified, but this example is reading the Water Protectors book, which I believe we were actually selling in our book sale. And then the activity is a watercolor that she would lead. And that would be November 22, Ms. Sue. And so that's something that if we as a group feel like this is doable, and if we're going to push real hard to make it happen. The Japanese drumming is another one that maybe we can get into December, but otherwise we'll hold until January. And I think in an ideal world, maybe we're able to pull off one of these a month. And so that by the end of the year, every grade would have had some kind of experience. And my goal is to still try to recruit more parents that have other things to share. I've had great conversations with others during book sale. I just wish they would email me back. But it is what it is. So I'm going to stop talking at this point. Does anyone have comments regarding that? You'll note at the very bottom, I am now putting things vote, no vote, because I would like as a group that we come to an idea perhaps of, this is going to have to be a funded thing. I was hoping Justin would be on at this point, but PTO would cover things like clearly it would be art resources, art materials, or that kind of thing. If it was the Water Protectors book and we don't have that in our library, or we don't have that in the key classroom, maybe we would purchase several copies to include. If we had an artist come in as part of something, one of the ideas had, maybe there might need to be a stipend for that artist. Of course, we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I am hoping for just some guidance from you as a group, from your I'm relying on your sensibilities as to what would be an adequate fund and what would be luxurious. And let's find a nice place in the middle of that. So any open discussion, I'd welcome it now. Not everyone all at once. Well, I'm going to put Sue on the hook here. Or how do you, first of all, how do you feel about a November 22 target date for water protectors activity? A book reading
Oh,
and then watercolor activity.
I feel great about that. I think that would be a lot of fun and very meaningful for our students, and we will make that happen.
Okay.
We welcome anytime people want to come in and lead activities and make connections with the kids at school. We welcome you all to do that. So we'll make that work. Did she say at grade level?
She didn't identify one. I figure if you're, it sounds like from not head nodding, everyone was familiar with the book. So you would certainly be more informed than I in terms of what grade level would be appropriate to, in terms of what they're already discussing. So yeah, we could certainly collaborate on who and how, whether that's going to be through the arts specialist or if it's a standalone.
Yes, for sure. Let's just reconnect on that. I was going to ask a question about the materials, though, like thinking about the things we talked about before, some of the ideas that have cropped up. Do you have an idea, like a baseline idea for what like the cloth might cost, or
right? Yeah. So,
you know, like maybe you can start us with like what would that typically cost, and then people can figure out, you know, what would that.
I do have a sense for Militia, $75 for a session for the watercolor portion. So the books themselves are between $15 to $20, depending on where you source them. And whether we buy multiple copies of that, and we certainly could just overbuy on the art supplies, because we know there never are enough pieces of paper. The other idea that she had, the second idea was fry bread. And then sourcing fry bread to actually bring to lunch. And she priced that at about $250. So so obviously that one has had a larger reach. I like the water protectors idea. I liked the watercolor idea as an end goal or as an end product. I don't know if anyone have any comments regarding that, but $75 a class if it's 2 classes to a particular grade, so that's $150. Let's pad it a little bit and then throw in the cost of the books. That takes us to $225 maybe. Am I being a little too fast and loose with money? Justin's not here to hold me back, so someone else has to rein me in.
I just want to say that I love the idea of the water protectors. I'm a little more hesitant about the fry bread piece, not reading the book. I just from what I've been reading, fry bread occupies an interesting and somewhat complex space. In an interesting history that I think should definitely be learned, but I don't know if we want to bring fry bread into school. I love the water protectors idea, especially if we could tie in an activism piece or an action piece with it, since Bancroft is so supportive of that too.
Cool. Yeah, no, thank you. That's thank you for that comment and insight. Anyone else? Okay, well, I am gonna put to a vote. And of course, I always wonder if I'm taking a risk here, but I do want, again, I'm trying to be very fully transparent about what we're spending. I'd like to set aside for this particular activity that's slated for November 22, Monday, the water protectors book plus watercolor, spearheaded by Alicia, set aside $250 for supplies to cover the expenses. As a matter of vote, just throw into chat. A 1 is a yes, a 2 is a no. I'll just watch for the chats to see if we hit majority, and we're good to go. I can't vote. All right. I think we just crossed the threshold. Did I do my math right? Miss Lisa, you want to correct me on that? I think we did 1, 2, 3. Did we? Oh no, we're still 1 short. We're at 50. No, with me not voting, we're good. We're good. All right, there we go. Motion passes, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you for that last vote, Lisa. All right, moving on. Now,
Can I just add one thing really quick?
go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Just in response to the activities, and I think Ms. Sue maybe said this too, that we are open as a school for really many different activities. So if a parent is feeling like, hey, maybe next week I want to come in, they can reach out to the child's teacher too. It does not, we don't have to go through PTO. I really appreciate the PTO willing to support and collaborate and put together these pieces. So I think that's really great. And there are other avenues too. So if it feels like daunting for, say, a person or a family, or just even too far in advance or whatever it might be, there are other ways too. So I just want to put that out there for all of you and other families too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brianna. I think you're the first person other than me to start talking to the YouTube people. Especially. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we certainly don't have to pass through us. We're just doing, PTO is just doing a targeted effort with a particular theme in mind. But yes, great. Thank you. Moving on. Principal DePaz and Assistant Principal Brianna, you've got the floor. I think I gave you 15 minutes. You've got 16 minutes because I was short on my presentation.
Perfect. I'm gonna need all 16. No, so good evening, everyone. I have a number of updates. I also don't want to just sit here and talk at people, but I think the biggest piece is that we reached the end of Q1, which was on Thursday. We had a recording day on Friday. Hopefully kids found some fun things to do and enjoyed the weather on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That also means that report cards are going to be coming home. And so those are being printed tomorrow morning, and they'll be stuffed and sent home in backpacks on Thursday. So please be on the lookout for report cards on Thursday. Just some upcoming dates, upcoming calendar events. First of all, I think we've talked about a little bit, American Indian Awareness and Family Involvement Week is coming up on November 15th through the 19th. And so we do have a number of things kind of already in the works as a school. And so we'll be talking more about that as a staff tomorrow at our staff meeting, about some other things that can be happening in classrooms. But there's a few things that we have happening. We're going to have a breakfast on Monday morning for our Native families. We'll also be doing a read aloud and having, we have the 11 tribal nations flags that were put into our cafeteria. Brianna and I were able to hang those in August. And so we'll be showing a video. I think the district has sent out a video too to families and caregivers, but we'll be sharing that with all of our students too. And I know in our Native group, Ms. Hartman is working with David, who's from Indian Ed, and the students will be making some medicine pouches and also researching and talking more about the flags too, and sharing that information with other classrooms. We have site council that week on November 18th. That'll be our second site council meeting. I'll be sending out an invite to that too, so hopefully folks can make it. And then I know we've talked about this a few times. Picture Day is December 1st, and that is the official day, VPAL. So I'm putting that out on YouTube and the airwaves and wherever else. Not sure why there's these emails or things that go out from LifeTouch, but our official Picture Day is December 12th, or sorry, December 1st. I think that has been, I think some kids might have brought their flyers home today. Most of them will go home on Thursday in the Thursday take home folders, but be on the lookout for those. And then the school request kickoff, it's going to be a virtual kickoff again, will be November 20th. That does kick off the request window, which then closes on February 7th. We talked a little bit about this at our last site council meeting about how PTO can support the school request season. We're in the works and planning some virtual open houses, perhaps some school tours, depending on how all these COVID pieces play out. But the window opens November 20th through the 7th of February. Let's see. In my latest parent email that I sent, or it comes from Fabiola, but we did talk about the application for educational benefits. And so I just want to make sure that we get as many people filling out those applications and just completing that paperwork as we can. because that does directly tie to our school funding. And so I want to make sure that we capture all the needs that are out there for our families, and then making sure that we get, I guess, the most support financially in our budget that we can for next school year. Let's see. We did have 2 fire drills. So maybe your kids came home and talked about the fire drills. They were announced, and so we were able to practice. Since a lot of our students are new to our school, we needed to make sure that we had the essential agreements laid out for our fire drills. And so we had one last week and the one the week prior. Our goal is to get out of the building in 2 minutes and walk away from the building as far as we can. And so we're still right around the 3-minute mark on those 2 drills. And so we have state requirement of 5 fire drills, and so we're done with 2 of them. So we have 3 more. If the weather cooperates, maybe we'll do 1 more this fall, and then try to hit 2 more in the spring. And let's see here. Ms. Nichols, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't know if you wanted to put this in here, just the Thanksgiving baskets piece. No. Okay. Great. Then no, I think that's it. Okay. I did want to add, again, this was in my communication to families, but we have had kind of our first COVID cases, and then we've had a couple more. And so I know a number of students have had to go on quarantine as close contacts. There's also been notices that have gone to families that there was a COVID exposure, but you're not a close contact, so you can keep coming to school. I just wanted to add a little clarity, and hopefully that happened with the email that was sent last Thursday. All students should have technology that's going back and forth from home to school in the event that happens. We also know that with this technology use, that snow days really aren't going to be a thing anymore. They're going to be called e-learning days, and the district MPS has a whole plan on e-learning days, and so kids should be having their technology going back and forth from home to school. Let's see here. And the last thing, we've been talking about events that are happening and ways to get our kids involved in things. And I just wanted to but just state all the things that have been happening already at Bancroft. And we have just a long list of some really fun things. And I did print out a list here. So in High Five, their unit that they're working on is how we express ourselves. And so they did host a family event at Powderhorn Park. And so all of our kiddos walked down there with family members and had a big gathering to celebrate the end of their first unit at Powderhorn. Kindergarten is in Sharing the Planet. And so they are having some upcoming events. They're having a virtual ocean field trip with the Minnesota Zoo, and that's happening this week. And the Raptor Center is also visiting their classrooms, and they're bringing 4 birds, including an eagle. So I think that's going to be pretty cool for our kindergartners. Our first graders are also in How We Express Ourselves right now, and they had the American Swedish Institute come out, and they're learning how to develop characters, setting, and plot. And then they will eventually make a cartoon to tell their stories. So that's a great partnership that we have with the ASI. Second grade, the ASI is also partnering with them, and they came last week and did history on a string. So all of our second graders created timelines out of beads and then important dates. They are studying influential people right now in second grade. And so that was a really big piece of their timelines that they created. And then the third graders have Mr. Fuller, who has been a longtime volunteer at Bancroft. He's also an actor at the Guthrie. And so he does a lot of read-alouds with the third graders, and the third graders absolutely love Mr. Fuller. And I think maybe there's a couple here that might share their enthusiasm with Mr. Fuller. I know Eleanor probably had Mr. Fuller in her classroom. And then fourth grade, right now they're going through the Pillsbury House residency. And they're learning how to write a play. And so it's really cool. It's going to be performed by the fourth graders and the artists that are supporting them throughout this entire residency. And so that performance will happen at the end of December. And we're looking at ways on how to either use their theater or use our gym to share that experience with all of our fourth grade families.
And then our fifth graders just continue to work on being IB ambassadors and taking on action projects throughout the school. Community service projects being kindergarten buddies, playground pickup, media helpers, and lots of different things that the fifth graders are undertaking. So there's lots of other upcoming things, but that's just kind of what's happening now. So it's just always a nonstop place of action here at Bancroft. And so it's fun to have all these things happening for our students. Yeah, and I think that's all I really have as far as updates. And as always, if there's any questions or comments, I'm open now. And Ms. Nichols is as well, or else I'll probably see everybody at parent pickup or parent drop off or, kid drop off. So it's always nice to see people in the morning and afternoon.
Thanks, Diego. That's a great update. I would like to keep the floor open for folks that have questions. I did want to say right away, if you've got that thing typed up, I'm guessing it wasn't on a typewriter, but it was on a computer, so it's digital. Could you email me that list? I'd certainly love to amplify that. Maybe just post it to our webpage and to Facebook so that folks that aren't in the meeting or watching YouTube would know. And I do have a follow-up, but I'll let the folks here take some time. All right, and so just one follow-up, Diego, and it's regarding the letter home that you sent, and I know that we had that phone conversation regarding COVID and process. I'm wondering when if not when, but if there's another instance and folks are having to quarantine because they are close contacts. In addition to the MDH letter, will there be an explicit instruction to parents saying you will get notice in Seesaw, or you will get an email from the teacher saying, look at your Seesaw by 9 o'clock every morning, you're going to get assignments, make sure you're logged in. Something explicit like that. So as a reminder to them of what their expected behavior is when their kid is out of school.
Yeah, so I will say, after that phone call, we have had a couple more, and so that has happened with the most recent kiddos that have had to go into quarantine. And a lot of that, my direction is you should be hearing from your child's teacher on, what steps are next. And I know we had a first grade teacher that did exactly that, said, hey, this is the Seesaw icon, this is where you're going to go. Here's the Dreambox icon. And so kind of laid it out that way for the students. And so I think as far the communication from me is, I think some of the important things is, yes, this isn't going to count against attendance. And then the teacher will be basically reaching out for more information on how to access learning. And that information should come from the teacher at that time, if that makes sense.
It does. Absolutely. It does. Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm glad that, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that there were more times to exercise this process, but I'm certainly glad that the process has grown. And I think the only thing truly is, what's that thing that kids say, your mileage may vary or whatever, YMMV. I think this is one of those places where you don't want your mileage to vary. You kind of want there to be a standard so that when parents are talking from third grade, talking to someone in fourth grade, it's like, yes, that was the experience, and this is the experience that you're going to expect. But I certainly understand that it is in a teacher's bucket to do the thing, to do the task, or to do the email. So, thank you.
I'll also add, I think sometimes from when that email is going to get sent to families really depends on the time of day that we find out about a case. So just continuing to give grace. And so, for example, like if I'm thinking about something specific, we found out at 4 o'clock, 4:30, our teacher day is done at 4 and they come in, at 8. And so there would not be communication. I wouldn't expect communication from a teacher probably until after 8 a.m., probably after 9 a.m. that day, and then they're welcoming kids in. And so I just think that's something just to take into account, that's where some of those things may vary too. So
well, I think
absolutely. A lot of it has to do on time of day.
Yep. No, thank you for that. And I think, and that's kind of why I feel like if there's a place to put that standard verbiage, it would be in wherever the copy paste MDH letter is coming from, right? And maybe just a final line, you will get a communication from your teacher, or expect a communication from your teacher. just for the sake of clarity. But I think I don't want to belabor this too much. And thank you, Diego. We're still in your time, so you got the full 3 minutes here if you want to keep talking about anything. But there are more. If people have more questions for him apart from me, the floor is yours.
I don't have a question, but I have an addition. We got an email from Nicole. And it's not a full clarification of the financial questions that we had, but one thing that she shared is that the Read-A-Thon pulled in $10,365 in donations, and that is the highest that she's ever seen. So that feels pretty good.
Wow, that is amazing. Holy moly. Good
Yeah,
job,
that's amazing.
everybody.
Over $10,000.
Yeah.
Go Read-A-Thon.
Yeah. It's more than made up for last year's engagement. I'm sure the kids still want to know though who won. It's great.
We all win. We all win.
We all win. Yes, we certainly did. I think that's if there was a headline, if there was a school newspaper, that's the headline right there. We all win. Great. Thank you for sharing that. And Diego, thank you for the update. Or did you have something else? Sorry.
I had one more update just because it's a daily thing. Our lost and found is once again overflowing. And so, we've raised a lot of money, but we've also raised a lot of clothes in our bins and on our countertops and whatever else. And so I would just say that, make sure that if you have not checked the lost and found, this goes for everybody, that, you check for your kids' things. I would also, as a parent of 3 kids myself, ages 9, 6, and 6, label things, because it's a lot easier to find them when they say deposit on the inside, or so make sure that you are looking through the lost and found and labeling kids' stuff. And I can just imagine now with the cold weather right around the corner at the end of this week with probably boots and hats and gloves, we need to make sure we're keeping track of all of our things. And so, I've not seen a lost and found as overflowing as our lost and found has been this year. So please have your kids check for their things, and you can come in and check for your kids' things too if you're missing hats or gloves or jackets.
I have 2 questions related to that. As you probably know, I have a very scattered child. Half the time she forgets her iPad and God knows what else. What happens if it's a day that she's forgotten her iPad and she winds up being quarantined? Or I know she forgot her iPad on the day she wound up being sick for the next week or almost week.
We'll make sure she gets it. So whether that's if you're out and about and can swing by the school to pick it up, or if I need to run it to your house or somebody does, that's pretty simple. As long as we're not doing it for an entire class, we can make it happen.
Yeah, we're working on remembering things. And also related to remembering things, as I'm sure there is stuff in the lost and found that is hers. Are kids wearing boots all day, or should I be sending separate sneakers with her when they get into boot season?
I would say that's a personal thing, but I think most kids do change their boots and put on their tennies or something for the day, so they can not be as hot or move around more freely. We have, I think maybe folks don't know, but we have brand new lockers too that we got before school started, and they're amazing. And and the boots can go right at the bottom of the locker, and I can change into shoes. And so, especially on gym day, you're going to want to wear your tennies if it's PE day.
Yeah. Well, I apologize in advance then. She's probably going to have footwear in the lost and found too.
And I would just say also to Brianna's point, even if it's a snow day, Brianna and I and our engineers are considered essential employees. And so even if the school is closed down and there's no school for the day, we still have to be on site. And so luckily I have an all-wheel drive vehicle, and so I can get through the snow and be here. So if things need to be picked up or dropped off, I'm also here on the e-learning days most likely. So that's another way to get materials in kids' hands.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that discussion and the reminder about lost and found. Okay, moving on, PTO Led Family Events. So this is in part related to what came out of Site Council. And so this is actually a 2-parter discussion. But as you can see that from a PTO standpoint, we are going to attempt PTO initiated events, either all virtual or in-person outdoors only, making use of our playground area. When I say related to site council, what came up in site council, particularly in relation to school choice, was now that we are a community school, we sort of have a little more leeway in terms of how we can promote our school to our neighbors, because we're not worried about pulling students away from other community schools when we were a magnet. Related, and then of course the other thing that was coming up in site council was we went from whatever it was 500 something to 400 to now 393 students, so that our budget was impacted. We lost $2 million. I think that's been said from our budget, and so that affected staffing and that kind of thing. And though we are one of my takeaways from site council was that we are fully staffed, we are understaffed compared to previous years. And so one of the ways to, of course, improve that situation is to grow our enrollment, since funding is tied to enrollment. So, and then my takeaway, and I know I'm rambling here, I think, is that if we can hold, we've got a great community. We've got a new community. We would love to engage more with the community and sort of really build some school strong spirit. And so then when going into school choice or talking to other parents, it's kind of a no-brainer from folks on what the praises they sing of our school. And then secondly, just by having events, having activity out on the playground, for example, it certainly would say to the neighborhood that this is an active school, this is a welcoming school, it's a school with people that like to be together. So to that end, again, the end goal being that how can we sort of grow our enrollment? The pathway that PTO can be helpful, I feel, is in spearheading some of these events. Turkey bingo was a thing, and it might be a thing. And I know Tana is online here still. Joanna is out of town, but I chatted with them about possibly co-managing events. And Tana, I'm actually not looking at your face right now. Is your camera on? There you are. Hi. Okay. And they agreed. The low hanging fruit notion. Let's just start with the bottom one: play dates, in person, outdoors. Invite Bancroft families. It would be nice to try and get one in by December, and so yes, I mean, it would just be nice to get one in before break occurs. But Turkey Bingo is probably the bigger pull. This would be, as you see, Monday, 11/22 is a targeted date, the Monday before break. And the idea is an all virtual session broadcast from our gym. Diego, I appreciate your email, and he has volunteered to MC. So we would have gear in the gym, make use of the school's Wi-Fi. And from a very bare bones sense, we would generate bingo cards, stuff them into bags, and then hold back some so that there's no chance of duplicates being online downloaded versus what got sent home. And then the big push is communication out to our parents to sort of try and figure out a head count or what kind of participation we might get. It's an hour-long session, about 45 minutes of playtime, which is somewhere between 7 to 10 rounds, depending on how long a round goes, plus an intro and an outro. So it's not going to be anything at all like the 400 plus people we would jam into the gym for 2.5 hours or whatever that was. And because it's all virtual, we are looking at digital gift cards as prizes. So that's an easy share, nothing needing to be picked up. Diego, in your email, you had mentioned already that what were Turkey Bingo prizes in the past, and I always forget it, that a lot of it is teacher and staff funded, that the school's already pushing through with that continued effort. And so not to I think we would like to ride your coattails. I just sort of whatever we can sort of provide for families, in terms of these gift cards would just complement whatever the school is already doing with your partnership with UPS. So that is the gist of it. And I think this is doable, but I do want to get a sense from the folks here what you all think. And then at the end of this, I am going to ask for a vote. The votes, because I don't want us to hash out details, and we certainly don't have time now, what I'm going to ask for is that the PTO empowers the board to come up with a budget for Turkey Bingo and one playdate session. And seeing how that playdate session goes, we can certainly turn back to PTO for future sessions if we need to sort of standardize and or rein things in. Okay, I'm opening the floor to comments, questions. I'm opening the floor to Tana. who will want to recruit more volunteers. Any questions, comments while I read the chat? I am going to ask for a sense of, do we think this is doable? I know Miss Sue regarding the water protectors event, that was an emphatic yes to make the 11/22 date. Turkey bingo in 2 weeks. What do we think? Because we would hit the ground running tomorrow. I do have faith. I'm also a positive person. Not really if you ask my wife, but yes. Great, thank you, Melissa. Tana, there's someone to add to the list. Melissa, I volunteered to help.
Perfect.
Seeing,
I think there's a large black thing over top of the.
sorry. Oh, yeah. I see. You see. I still. It's a chat. I opened the chat up, and there we go. All right. Seeing as that there's no other discussion, I do want to put a vote out that PTO empowers board to fund Turkey Bingo and 1 December playdate session. And just to be clear, I know we already kind of have an email vote process for expenses, but typically that's meant for expenses that are too last minute for us to take to full meeting. And I didn't want to abuse that power here. So I am looking for explicit permission from parents here that this is the right correct direction financially. So again, that the PTO empowers the board to fund Turkey Bingo and 1 December playdate. We'll post that as the discussion goes. A 1 for yes, a 2 for no in chat. We are at 11. I'm not voting, so we're looking to break 5.
Well, Tana's vote went straight to me.
Oh, okay.
Secret vote.
I just saw that. I switched it.
We're at 4. And it's certainly, again, if the vote doesn't pass, I can certainly understand that. I would look for a little discussion as to why it didn't pass. 1, 2, 3. If we need to hold off.
I see 6.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I'm just trying not to block this thing. All right. All right. I believe you. Let's go with it. All right. It passes. Thank you. I suppose Peter and Val, maybe you count as 2, don't you? Yeah. We got head nods. Yep. All right. Great. Thank you.
Paul, a question
Yes.
for the play dates is, I don't know, are Tana and Joanne, are you also leading the play dates, or do you need separate volunteers to help lead those?
Right. Thank you. That's a great question. So Tana and Joanna, I just realized there's a rhyming there. Are co-managers, co-chairs of the this PTO led family event effort.
Perfect.
So whatever it turns
Just
into.
good.
But
Great.
having said that, I don't want to take wind out of the sails of anyone who wants to volunteer, because certainly this is going to be volunteer led.
Sure.
But they agreed to sort of help me manage, because I'm running out of capacity anyway. And I'm pretty sure rather than Diego getting a bunch of emails from me, he's now going to get extra emails from other people. Right. Okay. Anyway, having said that, I'm glad for the smiles. I am going to move on. School choice preparation. So I already talked about this. This is going to be kind of up Michelle's alley. We've already mentioned the dates. Runs till February 7. We are going to create a new set of postcards. Diego, I imagine you have access, or will be getting access to a list of prospective students that we would be sending postcards to. And I imagine it's a piggybacked kind of communication. So Michelle and you and Brianna can sort of figure out what the shared messaging might be. In addition to the postcards, though, is there a way that we would be able to use that list to also let people know of events that we are hosting, literally to introduce the school to them? So when we do a play date that's meant to be for the neighborhood, not just for our families, is there a way to reach out to those folks? So that is kind of a logistical question I did have. And then school's open house, I think you can count on us to participate somehow, just the same way as last year. So I'm not going to belabor that point. I am interested. I don't know what the school has in terms of capacity or resources, but from a PTO standpoint, I'd like to put forth an idea that PTO creates a video that we would share on our social media at least, to sort of help push our school. And then if there are any other ideas, I'm certainly open to it. Because I am certainly not an original person. I think you are all more original than I am. Any comments, questions? Michelle, what do you think? This is, I mean, we already talked about this at our prep meeting, but I don't know if you have anything more to add to it.
I don't have anything to add. The only thing that would be helpful for me is I can create any of the graphics. I don't know anything about video, but I think that is your realm, right, Deepa?
It is, yes, it is, which is why I get excited about it.
Yeah, very good. So my only question is, it would be helpful for me, and we don't have to hash this out right now, but maybe over email, it would be helpful for me to have a list of what we need and then the deadlines for them, so I can kind of work backwards, because I know it's going to be quite a bit of stuff, and that's totally fine. But I'm also on a couple of book deadlines, I think in the same timeline. So it'd be helpful for me to kind of have deadlines for when we need stuff and work backwards from there.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Diego and Brianna, I don't know if from a school standpoint, you're already working on your own timelines for stuff, but perhaps if you put an email out to your own people, your own staff who are doing stuff, you copy one of us and we can dovetail in with you.
Yeah, that we could definitely do that. I think I think the most pressing right now is the postcard, not pressing, but I think the first step is the postcard and getting that mailing list or the potential mailing list, especially of incoming kinders from the district placement office, and then moving forward from there.
My memory was that postcard went out end of December. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we tried to get it out before winter break because we advertised the virtual open houses that we had. And I think the first one was the second week of January. And then we had another one either late January or early February.
Okay, so there we go. There's our first sort of soft deadline to sort of try and hit. So by our next December meeting, we should have materials dummied up already for final approval. So not really dummied up, but final approval stuff, so that we could vote to send them out by break. Our December meeting is December 13. Not that I'm, already there.
Great. Well, let's start an email string with the postcards and any other materials we need between us. We can kind of brainstorm what we want on them, and then maybe work on dummying them up around Thanksgiving-ish.
And Peter, yeah, go for it. I saw your eyes light up, so I was going to call you out, and you
Oh,
unmuted
thanks.
right away.
Wow, you're really good. I'm just curious, do you have a rough sense of how many prospective students there are out there? And I guess the reason I'm asking is because it seems like one cool thing with the postcard could be like whether it's some way that like they could be personalized, whether like students actually like paint on them, or do a sort of, it's a coloring page, or if adults could write a message. It just seems like having a postcard that has a bit more personal touch to it could be a cool way to make that something
That
different.
is a great idea. Absolutely. Now, again, you listen to me jump into this conversation, and I have zero idea how many prospective students this would go out to. But I think we could absolutely tie it into for example, to one of these play dates. Like, what if one of these neighborhood play dates that we can get off the ground also includes decorate a postcard, personalize a postcard, something to that effect. Because it would be great, the challenge is getting them into students' hands or families' hands to do the artwork, right? And if we can get some people to an event, it's almost a double whammy right there. So yeah, that's great. I'm glad this is being recorded, because I'm not going to forget that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm writing some notes too.
Okay, good.
Do you think I like the idea of making it either useful or artful is a really good idea. So I'm wondering if we had some information on one side, and then the other side was just something that kids could decorate and send out about what they like about Bancroft.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a good idea. I do want to, I'm just bringing up from our past two efforts there, because it was a dovetailed thing, there was a shared, like, Diego had some messaging he wanted specifically that we needed to make room for. And so it's just a matter of that. So whether it's a one and done, or whether it's a multiple thing, I'm certainly open to the notion. I don't, but yeah, so I think that's certainly there.
Yeah. And I don't know how a postcard could be, unfortunately, I don't know how a postcard could be useful, but perhaps magnets or bookmarks or something like that, if we wanted something useful.
Yeah. Color sheet. That's what was just from Melissa in chat.
Oh, what? Oh, so what?
Yeah, the coloring sheet idea, I like that. Like if it wasn't already colored, that would be something you can give your kid to color.
Yep.
There's so much waste.
Oh, that's a fun idea for the postcard too. If it was, if part of it was just a coloring thing that the kids could color on.
Yeah.
Or cut off 2 inches of it to be the bookmark. There's lots of ideas I think you could play around with.
So let us, with the time that we've got here, I am going to sort of try to move into the final bit here. But this is not a vote item, but are there others online here who would like to share some time with Michelle to sort of talk this through? And Michelle, this is going to be a board will be involved as well. So Robin, you're in.
Yeah.
But if there are other parents, Melissa, I know you already volunteered for something. Tana, you're certainly welcome to spend more time with us. Peter and Val, you're 2 for 1. So it's 100%. Even if one of you come in, I don't know. Again, math is not my strong suit. Would you like to jump in on this action? And then Peter, of course, because your eyes lit up, I think I am just going to consider adding you as a CC on the email.
You can do that. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I wear sunglasses from here on out.
What I love about having video on is because you could still read body language, and it's almost like having an in-person meeting, right?
Right.
One really quick practical thing. Oh, cool. Thanks, Melissa. One really quick practical thing. Who is printing the postcards? Because that may determine what we're able to do.
Yeah, no, we use the same printer that we used through Brady. So we've used that printer twice. Now, of course, I don't have the name outright, but we'll get in touch with Brady again because we used his contact last year. Okay. So, and Brady, for those who don't know, was comm director 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would say we could also make an order depending on how it's laid out through our document center. And that could be a cost that the school would incur. It's a cost we would incur anyways during recruitment type season. And so we can use our document center too if all else fails.
Yeah,
Great.
It'll determine, the communication with the printer will determine what we can do basically. Because if it's a coloring sheet, it laminate and whatever. So it's
yeah. Well, I think why don't we I'm only just being cognizant of time here. Let us revisit the email chain from when we did memory books last year, because I think we explored the district's printer for memory books. I know we went a different direction ultimately in the end, but maybe that email chain would help inform this. And then Diego, perhaps you and Michelle could reach out to the printer again to talk specifically about this. But okay, great, thank you. And this segues into Spiritware Fundraiser, which is our next fundraiser. Oh shoot, I think I might have closed the window that had it. Did I? We have toques or winter caps, blue, gold. There's a pullover and a t-shirt with a design that is now going to be redesigned. The Bulldog we're looking at redesigning the Bulldog. Michelle, I don't know if there's a draft at all yet, but Michelle helped talk with, did I put his name here? Drew Brockington to perhaps create a Bulldog. That's why this cover is here, because that's his cover. Nicole is on board. This is one of Nicole's projects also. And so the goal is to have a new Bulldog design that's going to go on the t-shirt and hoodie. That's part of our Spiritware. We also have toques or winter caps as part of the Spiritware sale. They're going to go out. We get the design. If we can get this pegged down by 11/16, Nicole will have it in teachers' boxes for order forms the following Monday. I can't remember now if it was the Monday that she said, or the Thursday. And then it's real. I mean, people can get their Spiritware. It's a fundraiser for us. That's really what I'm bringing up here. I wanted to take that. Anyone have any comments regarding this? Michelle, do you have any updates regarding this?
Just basically, so Drew and Joanne, who's not here, are out of town right now. So Drew said he could have sketches to us probably end of this week, and we'll take a look at the sketches. We'll chat over email as a board, and then decide what we want to take to final. And at that point, I should be able to mock something up for the order forms, although it may change slightly by the time we get to final. So, but yeah, I'm super excited that Drew is into this because I think it's going to be really fun.
And Drew is a parent.
Yeah, I was just saying, Drew and Joanne are parents of two kindergartners, and so that's the connection.
Yeah, and I think it'll be and the bulldog he's going to create. And he was talking about different poses it could be and stuff. With the bulldog he's going to create is something that we're going to use on the postcards and some of our other communications as well. So I think it's going to be really fun.
And the goal is that this new design makes it into our postcard. So part of this effort isn't simply Spiritware, but that we sort of are able to brand a little bit here. Visually speaking. And then I did want to connect Diego and Michelle. Diego, that box of old vintage stuff, paraphernalia, do you still have that in your office? Does that still exist somewhere?
Yep. There's some back here, and then there's some in a cabinet right outside my door here.
Okay. So Michelle, how, now that we have a set of dates, I don't know if that would be helpful at all to see what has happened in the past vintagey wise, but
I think the coolest thing is the 1985 painter's hat.
Yes, I know. Absolutely. The painter's hat we need to bring back.
There's a bulldog on the top.
Oh, bring it back. I mean, I would buy that.
I would too. Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
I would too. I have to dig out my Duran Duran one and I'd alternate days. But yeah, absolutely.
That's an artifact from 1985 time capsule.
I love it.
Great. Yeah. Okay, good. So what I am looking for is just direction. An approval is probably too strong of a word, but obviously because of our timeline, this isn't necessarily something that we can accomplish with full board approval by our next meeting because we're trying to beat a thing here. So literally what I'm asking for is that the PTO empowers PTO board to approve new design by an email vote before 11/16. 1 for yes, 2 for no in chat, please. Hey, look at that, Peter and Val. You're getting the math right. Okay, looks like motion carries. Thank you very much. And that takes us to 5 of, and so my math worked out. 1 hour and 25 minutes, and here we are. So any new business, anything that wasn't discussed, anything we need to revisit in the last couple of minutes here for board or for PTO? And thank you again for your time and attention. I really appreciate the engagement we had tonight.
I just wanted to say I'm on the Bancroft Neighborhood Association board, and I don't know if there is any existing relationship with the board between the PTO and Bancroft, but I'm happy to serve as a liaison as well. Cross-posting stuff on our Facebook page and everything. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know of any existing relationship. I've only been involved for 3 years here. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And considering where we're sort of going in terms of the whole neighborhood play dates and the postcarding and wanting to be a little extra engaged with promotion of our school, that would be a great connection. So thank you, Peter.
That's how I found out about Bancroft School when it was a magnet school, was through the neighborhood association, and the principal would come to our annual meeting. It was great. I think we had an annual meeting at Bancroft once too, which I enjoyed too.
Cool. Okay. And Melissa, you posted Powderhorn, so maybe I didn't even consider this. See, this is great. This is all original thinking that I am incapable of. Thank you for bringing this to PTO meeting. Any other comments before I gavel us closed? Okay, I'm giving you back 3 minutes of your life. Have a great dinner. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much for your engagement. I look forward to these meetings. I truly do.
Thank you,
And
Paul. Great meeting. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. And Peter, I will be sad if you come back with sunglasses.
I mean, now it's a challenge.
I've got a lot of cool sunglasses, people.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Stay safe. We'll be in touch by email. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.